boys and girls, it's Miss Reynolds with Board, Better Off Reading Every Day. Today is Poetry Fridays, and I have two sweet little books for you today of poetry. One is Little Books of Sentiments for a Special Grandma. They're both very small. The second one is Quotable Woman, and it's a collection of shared thoughts and poetry. Now, boys and girls, I chose these two tiny books because Little B.O.R.E.D Debbie, of course, is with me today, and she is a little B.O.R.E.D Debbie. She's small, and I wanted to have books that was kind of like small enough to fit in the palm of her hand if she were holding them. So that's why I got the little small books. Plus, one of them is for grandmas, which I am always celebrating because, you know, I love my grandma. And the other one is about women, which I am. And, you know, I love celebrating women. So let's do this. A Little Book of Sentiments for a Special Grandma. Let's power up these glasses, boys and girls. Make sure they're working. We Have Become a Grandmother by Margaret Thatcher, 1989. When Grandma was a lassie, that tyrant known as man thought a woman's place was just the space around a frying pan, by E.Y. Harburg. If You Would Civilize a Man, Begin with His Grandmother, by Victor Hugo. A perfect grandparent loves them, spoils them, then sends them home. A grandmother's love with each passing year continues to grow and become more dear. A garden of love blooms in a grandmother's heart. Mothering is a necessity. Grandmothering is a luxury. A grandmother is someone to buy you things that your mother says you don't really need. Grandmas are mothers with lots of patience. There's no place like home except grandma's. Count your age by friends, not your years. Count your life by smiles, not your tears. A woman's guess is much more accurate than a man's certainty, by Rudyard Kipling. As a white candle in a holy place, so is the beauty of an aged ace, by Joseph Campbell, Old Woman. To me, old age is always 15 years older than I am, by Bernard Baruch in Newsweek, 29th of August, 1955. Old age is not so bad when you consider the alternatives, by Maurice Chevalier. Paradoxical as it may seem to believe in youth is to look backwards. To look forward, we must believe in age, by Dorothy L. Sayers. When you have loved as she has loved you, grow old beautifully. W. Somerset, The Circle, 1921. When you have loved as she has loved you, grow old beautifully. When one has reached 81, one like to sit back and let the world turn by itself without trying to push it. Sean O'Cassidy. They are usually fat, but not too fat, to tie your shoelaces. They wear glasses, and sometimes they can take their teeth out. Child quoted by Campbell. Listen to children. They are usually fat, but not too fat to tie your shoelaces. They wear glasses, and sometimes they can take their teeth out. A child quoted. Listen to the children. To be 70 years young is sometimes far more cheerful and hopeful than to be 40 years old, by Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. My legs have become very ugly, but then what use would beautiful legs be to a woman of 85? By Dame Rebecca West. If you live long enough, the vulnerability factor creeps in. You get accused of things you never did and praised for virtues you never had. By L.E. Stone. If you live long enough, the vulnerability factor creeps in. You get accused of things you never did and praised for virtues you never had. No spring nor summer hath such grace as I have seen in Autumnal's face. John Donne, Autumnal, 1600 C. How old would you be if you didn't know how old you are? By Satchel Paige. Just about the time a woman thinks her work is done, she becomes a grandmother. Very, very few people die at 92. I suppose that I shall be safer till at 93. By Willard Espy. More children are spoiled because the parents won't spank grandma. Anan. Another thing so simple a child can operate is a grandma. The spiritual eyesight improves as the physical eyesight declines. Plato. It is one of nature's ways that we often feel closer to distant generations than to generations immediately preceding us. Igor Stravinsky. How beautifully the leaves grow old, how full of light and color as their last days. John Burroughs. Grandmas can answer questions like, why do dogs hate cats? And why isn't God married? They never mind reading the same story over and over again. Child quoted Campbell. If I'd known I was gonna live this long, I'd have taken better care of myself. By E.B. Blake. The denunciation of young is necessary part of hygiene of older people and gratefully assist the circulation of their blood. Logan Purcell Smith. A grandmother is a babysitter who watches the kids instead of television. The only thing I regret about my past life is the length of it. If I had my past life over again, I'd make all the same mistakes sooner. Quoted the Times, 28th of July, 1981. Women, as they grow older, rely more and more on cosmetics. Men, as they grow older, rely more and more on a sense of humor. By George Jean Nathan. Women speak because they wish to speak, whereas a man speaks only when driven to speak by something outside himself. Like, for instance, he can't find any clean socks. Jean Kerr. One starts to get young at the age of 60 and then it's too late. Pablo Picasso. Life is a short affair. We should try to make it smooth and free from strife. By the Supplement Woman. And the last page. Grandparents are people who come to your house, spoil the children, and then leave. The end of A Little Book of Sentiments for a Special Grandma. Quotable Woman, a collection of shared thoughts. I will read a couple of pages from this book. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. By Eleanor Roosevelt. And the trouble is, if you don't risk anything, you risk even more. Life is what happens to you when you are making other plans. By Betty Tamaridge, 1924. I don't wait for moods. You don't accomplish nothing if you do that. Your mind must know it has got to get down to the earth. By Pearl Buck, 1892 to 1973, American writer. Courage is the price that life exacts for granting peace. Courage is the price that life exacts for granting peace. Amelia Earhart, American aviator. Our strength is often composed of the weakness we damned if we're going to show. Mignon McLaughlin, 20th century American writer. That is the best to laugh with someone because you both think the same things are funny. Gloria Vanderbilt, 1924, an American designer. A difference of taste in jokes is a great strain. on the affections. A difference of taste in the jokes is a great strain on the affections, by George Eliot, English writer. The Psychic, scars caused by believing that you are ugly, leaves a permanent mark on your personality, by Joan Rivers, an American entertainer. Plain women know more about men than beautiful ones do, by Katharine Hepburn, American actress. Tact is, after all, a kind of mind reading, by Sarah Jewett, American writer. I always felt that the great high privilege, relief, and comfort of friendship was that one had to explain nothing, by Catherine Mansfield. You may be disappointed if you fail, but you are doomed if you don't try. Beverly Sills. You may be disappointed if you fail, but you are doomed if you don't try, by Beverly Sills, an American opera singer and manager. Like Tomorrow with Today, by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. One of my absolute favorites. I read one of her books already. Like Tomorrow with Today, English poet. It is the friends you can call up at 4 a.m. that matter, by Marlene Dietrich, a German actress. I'll not listen to reason. Reason always means what someone else has got to say, by Elizabeth Gaskell, British writer. And the last one, boys and girls, on the last page. I think that wherever your journey takes you, there are new gods waiting there, with divine patience and laughter, by Susan M. Watkins, 1945, an American writer. I think that wherever your journey takes you, there are always new gods waiting there, with divine patience and laughter. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Boys and girls, it is Miss Reynolds with Bored, Better Off Reading Every Day, and I hope you enjoyed both of these tiny book poetries that I'm reading to you. I do not own the rights to any of these books that I read to you, but I do love storytelling magic, and on Fridays I especially love the magic of poetry. It brings me such joy to be able to share poetry with you, which I started back on September 4th with the book that you see right here next to Little B.O.R.E.D Debbie. That was the first poetry book that I did read to start Poetry Fridays. And I started Poetry Fridays because I used to write poetry myself, and I do miss it. I wrote when I was in high school, and I miss it terribly. And I haven't written in quite some time because I've been doing other things. But every now and then, I get that little tickle in my fingers that tells me, guess what? It might be time to write some poetry. So I might surprise you. You never know. You might want to keep an eye out, just in case. I did write one poetry for my daughter's birthday, and that's on my Instagram, Bored with Miss Reynolds. You can always follow me on there. That's where you get to see all of the antics and all of the pictures and everything that go with the stories that I do read. So, here's my sweetheart right here. My girl. Little B.O.R.E.D Debbie. And of course, you can see that all the books are her size that I read today. All of these books that I read today are basically her size. Boys and girls, I know that people ask, what's the story with Little B.O.R.E.D Debbie? Why do you have this doll with you? And the reason why I do is because I like reading to someone. She is my reading companion on Poetry Fridays. She's absolutely my mini-me, especially now that she has her glasses. And I love dolls. I loved dressing them up as a child, and I love dressing them up as an adult. One of the things that we play at after school is dolls, where we take out about 50 Barbies and all different kinds of dolls, and we all play dress up with them. And who doesn't love dress up? I love dress up in my own life, and I love dressing up my doll. So if you have a doll, no matter who you are, I think you should get them some clothes and dress them up, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's another side of your personality that you are showing, that you're willing to share in the fun with someone else. Plus, look at her. How could you resist? She is the cutest thing ever. Little B.O.R.E.D Debbie, right here at Bored with Miss Reynolds. Better off reading every day, even with books her size. Bye.